Govinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, we were discussing we started chapter 18 of Canto 1, Srimad Bhagavatam. How in this chapter describes how Parikshit Maharaj is going to be cursed actually. And we saw that Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami is speaking that how his Parikshit Maharaj's birth was glorious and his passing away is also going to be glorious, right? That's what we heard. And we heard about the importance of Brahminical culture and the proper, everybody, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, how they are so important for the whole society. We heard that. We completed till verse number 3, yeah, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, anybody has anything to share?
I think 4, Mataji.
4?
Yeah, we completed.
Yeah. So, and we heard that how Parikshit Maharaj was completely surrendered. So, for him, it didn't matter that whether he is going to stay or he is going to die, right? In the verse number 2, we heard that. And we heard how Krishna, who is Ajita, he gets conquered because of bhakti only. And the spiritual master, role of spiritual master, how Parikshit Maharaj, he took shelter of Sukadeva Goswami. So, which is very, very important. Without taking shelter of spiritual master, we cannot understand Krishna. The knowledge, the abilities, the qualities that one may have, only on the strength of those we cannot understand Krishna. Krishna cannot be conquered. But if we take guidance from the bona fide spiritual master, then we can. Right?
Kalpana Mataji, we have to start 4?
Yeah, 4th we have to transcendental topic. Yeah, we have to start 4th.
Yeah, we have to start.
Yeah, we didn't do what 4th verse. Yeah, I kind of. Okay. So let us begin. Let me share my screen. Yeah, we should start from 4. Okay, someone wants to read?
I can read Mataji.
Okay.
Nottama shloka vardhana yushatam tat kathamritam syat sambramonate kalepi ratam tat padambhujam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not risk of having misconception even at the last moment of their lives. The highest perfection of life is attained by remembering the transcendental nature of the Lord at the last moment of one's life. This perfection of life is made possible by one who has learned the actual transcendental nature of the Lord from the Vedic hymns sung by a liberated soul like Sukadeva Goswami or someone in that line of disciplic succession. There is no gain in hearing the Vedic hymn from some mental speculator. When the same is heard from actual self-realized soul and is properly understood by service and submission, everything becomes transparently clear. Thus, a submissive disciple is able to live transcendently and continue to the end of life. Uh, by scientific adaptation, one is able to remember the Lord even at the end of life when the power of remembrance is slackened due to the derangement of bodily membranes. For a common man, it is very difficult to remember things as they are at the time of death. But by the grace of the Lord and his bona fide devotees, the spiritual masters, one can get this opportunity without difficulty. And it was done in the case of Maharaj Parikshit. Very well. It's a very nice purport.
Yeah.
So here, again, Sutta Goswami is glorifying Parikshit Maharaj because he was a person who had dedicated his life to the service of Krishna, and he was again following in the footsteps of his grandfathers. Even like he is remembering is hearing the katha Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami at the last time of his death, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that if you remember me at the last moment, you'll attain my abode. So that's what Prabhupada is saying, that it's not like we can just remember him at the last moment, but we have to devote our life towards doing that. We should hear from a bona fide spiritual master or a bona fide a person in that disciplic succession. And we have, while listening, it's also mentioned earlier in the Bhagavatam that we have to be submissive, and we have to have an attitude of service instead of an attitude of being challenging. We have to hear with submission. And even if our body is giving up at the time of death, if we are devotees, if we have given to Krishna consciousness in our life, Krishna will give us the mercy that he will make us remember him at the last moment. So that's a hope giving thing. That's all, Mataji.
Yeah. So this chapter from verse number 1 to 10, Maharaj Parikshit's birth, death, and dealings with Kali are described. So there is a connection between verse 3 and 4. Like here it says, this was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not run the risk of having misconception even at the time of death. So what was the translation of verse number 3 is that it is described, Sutta Goswami speaking that he took shelter of Sukadev Goswami at the end of, like when he was cursed to die, he took shelter of this a bona fide spiritual master, and because of that he was able to understand the actual position of personality of Godhead. So, and then why did that happen? Because we heard in the previous chapters that how when Parikshit Maharaj was going from place to place, when Krishna and Pandavas were glorified in front of Parikshit Maharaj, he was completely like as if Krishna is present there. He was so much attached. He felt so much attachment to Krishna, and he was remembering the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is what is here in this verse is summarized, right? So in the last verse, we heard that he took shelter of the spiritual master Sukadev Goswami, who is a bona fide spiritual master. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting that famous verse of 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi Pranipatena Priparshinena Sevya Dakshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshina. So who have already seen the truth, if we approach them with submission and mood of service and proper inquiry, then they will bestow that knowledge to us. They will show us that tattva of Krishna because they have understood that, right? So that remembrance, like we have been hearing in Srimad Bhagavatam, the importance of remembrance. In 2nd chapter also, when those whole series of verses were given, then there was that yad anudhaya sina yukta karam karanti nibandhanam Yeah, something like, I forgot the next two lines. Yad anudhyaya sina yukta karam karanthini bandhanam. I forgot the next two lines. But anyway, there was the sword of remembrance. By the sword of remembrance, one can cut off the chain of fruitive reactions. So that remembrance of the Lord is very, very important. And he could free himself from misconceptions of life because he has heard about the transcendental topics of Krishna throughout his life, and that is why he was able to take full shelter at the end of his life, and he was able to remember Krishna and go back, right? So that practicing Krishna consciousness throughout one's life is very, very important, not just that in the end some switch will turn on and then a spark will go in and we can remember and go back. If we have practiced, if we have been sincere in our practice throughout our life, then even if we are in coma or some situation, Krishna will make us remember him. And anyway, we cannot remember Krishna by our own will. It is Krishna has to sanction that, Krishna has to approve that. And for that, we need to be sincere. All right, so let's move on. Someone wants to read?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, sure.
Tavat tavat kaliran prabhavet pravishto apiha sarvatah yavadiso mahanu vyarmabhimanya ekarat. Translation of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As long as the great powerful son of Abhimanyu remains the emperor of the world, there is no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish. But as we have already explained, the personality of Kali had entered the jurisdiction of the earth long ago, and he was looking for an opportunity to spread his influence all over the world. But he could not do so satisfactorily due to the presence of Maharaj Parikshit. That is the way of good government. The disturbing elements like the personality of Kali will always try to extend their nefarious activities, but it is the duty of the able state to check them by all means. Although Maharaj Parikshit allotted place for the personality of Kali, at the same time he gave no chance for the citizen to be swayed by the personality of Kali. Hari Bol. So, Mataji, in this verse, Srila Prabhupada is explaining quality of government and king. And so Parikshit Maharaj was a very pious king and he was a very pure devotee. So Kali wanted to spread his influence all over the world, but because of Parikshit Maharaj, he could not.
Yeah. So we heard yesterday a lot about that, right? What are the places that were given to age of Kali to reside in?
Gold, Mataji.
What else? There were 4 other, total 5 places.
Gambling places.
Prostitution,
Slaughter something. I don't know.
slaughterhouses, and
Slaughterhouses.
intoxication.
Okay, wait. Nobody, let Kalpana speak. Okay, what are the 4 regulative principles? What are the 4 regulative principles?
Yes, Mataji. No milking, gambling, and illicit
sex, yeah.
Intoxication.
Yeah. So those 4 places were given, and then Kali said, "Oh, these doesn't exist in your kingdom. You have to give me something else where I can reside really." Then he was given the place that whatever you said first, the gold, wherever there is gold, because wherever there is gold, all these things will reside, right? So, but in the ruler emperor, Parikshit Maharaj was so dedicated to the Supreme Lord and was so dedicated to the real well-being of all the citizens that in his kingdom there was no such, because wherever there was gold, it was utilized in Krishna service. So it did not become that because of gold there is intoxication, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, right? So that is why the Kali could not flourish in his kingdom. It is the glory of Parikshit Maharaj that is described here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there here, although Maharaj Parikshit allotted places for the personality of Kali, at the same time he gave no chance for the citizens to be swayed by the personality of Kali. So we discussed yesterday how if we don't want to be swayed by Kali, then what should we do? Follow the regulatory principles. So the influence of Kali cannot reside. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next verse.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you. Yasmin ahaniyare eva Bhagavan utsasarajagama tadvehanubrato asava adharma prabhava kaliha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world. Perfect. The personality of Godhead and his holy name, quality, etc., all are identical. The personality of Kali was not able to enter the jurisdiction of the earth due to the presence of the personality of Godhead. And similarly, if there is an arrangement for the constant chanting of the holy names, quality, etc., of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no chance at all for the personality of Kali to enter. That is the technique of driving away the personality of Kali from the world. In, in modernized human society, there are great advancements of material science, and they have invented the radio to distribute sound in the air. So instead of vibrating some nuisance sound for sense enjoyment, if the state arranges to distribute transcendental sound by resounding the holy name, fame, and activities of the Lord as they are authorized in the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, then a favorable condition will be created. The principles of religion in the world will be re-established, and thus the executive heads who are so anxious to drive away corruption from the world will be successful. Nothing is bad if properly used for the service of the Lord. Very good.
Very good. Yeah, Mataji, you want to say something?
Yeah, so here Srila Prabhupada explained the Kali, he entered after Lord Sri Krishna left from this earth. So the main point is, Srila Prabhupada said we have to chant the holy name. And when the chanting of the holy name is going on everywhere, then there is no chance of Kali. So we can use, the Kirtan Mela, right? We just went for the Sadhu Sangha, those kind of activities, if going on everywhere, then there is no chance of Kali. And then we can drive away the Kali from this world.
So basically, like we have to understand that name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord are not different than Krishna himself. And that is what will happen, because that is like, why is it so? Because Krishna is transcendental. So we understand the transcendental nature of Krishna. And then what does Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9? जन्म कर्म चामे दिव्यम एवं यो वेति तत्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्मा नयति मामेति स अर्जुन. So meaning, if we understand the transcendental nature of qualities and of the appearance and pastimes of Krishna, then we won't have to take birth again. And this, like every day we have chants 25,000 times actually, when we are chanting our 16 rounds, to somehow bring to our consciousness that this name is not different than Krishna, right?
Yes.
Anything about, and like, how can we say that? So just if we say Coca-Cola, 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 we cannot say 25,000 times, right? Somebody try it and see what happens. We will feel horrible if we do that. But when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we feel like we want to, if we are attentively chanting, we want to chant more. But if we are not, if we are spaced out, then it is like a chore that we have to complete. But if we are attentively chanting the holy name, then the thing is that we would want to chant more rounds. I was listening to Sachinandan Maharaj yesterday, one lecture on the holy name, the heart of the holy name. So there he was saying that inattention is the greatest actually problem in our chanting. If we can be attentive, and then he was saying that we may not have the full faith that Krishna and his holy name are non-different, but at least theoretically, if we accept that Krishna and his holy name are non-different and chant with that attention, then Krishna will reveal to us that how the holy name is non-different than Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, and also I remember I shared with you all earlier, similar lines, that he says that, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, there is this thing that when we chant the holy name, we get detachment from material sense enjoyment and all, and we get attraction for knowing about and hearing about Krishna. And then the third thing is love for Krishna. Our heart feels love for Krishna. So Maharaj said that when I started chanting, that okay, yes, I started feeling that I am getting attracted to hearing about Krishna. So that is happening. And the second thing, we don't feel so much taste in the materialistic sense enjoyment. So Maharaj said these two things are happening. So definitely third will also happen. Right? So that is how we should reflect in our lives. That reflection is very important. Right? And we heard in the Bhagavatam in the beginning chapter how Vyasadeva, when he was feeling dissatisfied, that was reflecting, right? And then Narad Muni appears, and then this whole Bhagavatam appears, right? So that reflection is very, very important. All right, so let's move on.
Mataji, quick question.
Yeah.
So the actual meaning of transcendental, is it non-physical, Mataji?
Transcendental means which is not affected by three modes of material nature, and which is always the same, meaning it is not affected by the three modes of material nature. It does not have any material contamination. Like meaning when Krishna, like for us, our body is different than our spirit soul, right?
Yeah.
So but in case of Krishna, there is no difference between his soul and his body. It's not that he is forced to, means basically transcendental means which is not affected by three modes of material nature.
The Hindi word for
Anything
it,
eternal.
Hindi word would be Divyam.
Yeah, transcendental. No, actually transcendental is even beyond Divyam.
Mataji, anything eternal is transcendental, basically, right?
Yeah, the soul, eternal, yeah, but we get contaminated. So the same difference is that because we are also transcendental, but because we are covered by three modes of material nature, this material, meaning anything that has that feels a disconnection between Krishna is not transcendental. Anything about Krishna, anything which is related to Krishna is always transcendental. Yeah. Yeah. So is that okay, Mataji? So basically transcendental term is used Actually, that it is transcendental to three modes of material nature means it is not affected by the material. It is not affected by material energy at all. That is transcendental, and that is what we hear.
Goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Yeah.
Above all that.
Which is Shuddha Sattva, which is always situated in Shuddha Sattva.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's how we say, right? That is how we say that it is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Krishna is transcendental to the, and also transcendental means that anything about Krishna, his name, form, qualities, and pastimes, they are exactly him. Like we hear Namna Makari Bahuda Nidhi Sarva Shakti Tatrarpita Niyamite Smrane Nakalaha Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdevam Drishim Ejanan Raga. So means Krishna has already put all his potency in the holy names. Name is not different than Krishna. And we experience it also if we chant it pure holy name, then we experience that. Meaning, if I just, Srila Prabhupada gives this example, if I say water, 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 water doesn't come to us, right? But if we say Krishna, 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 Krishna is dancing on our tongue. That is what Krishna's name and he are non-different. Anything about him is non-different than him. Yeah, but for us, our name is different than us. Yesterday only I was reading something. Our soul and our name and our body, everything is different for. But in case of Krishna, everything is same. Yes. Kokilamata, you are mute if you are talking.
Yeah, Mataji, sorry. I was saying that's why, because of our the limitations, we are not able to understand it through.
Yeah, and then as we get purified by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as we keep understand that we are, and I also want to say there was some question in the yesterday's class that I was listening from Sachinandan Maharaj. Somebody asked this question: how do I practice? I know theoretically that I am spirit soul, but how do I realize that I am spirit soul? So Maharaj said, he said many things, and finally he said, okay, if you cannot think of or remember any of these things, just start with tolerating. Tolerate, because I am not this body. So whatever is going around and on, and that was the first instruction of Krishna, right? Matra sparshyastu kunte yasitoshna aghamapayano nityas right? All right, should we move on? Okay, someone wants to read verse number 6.
I can read, Mataji.
Go ahead, yeah, Prabhu.
Nanudvesti kalim samrat saranga iva sarabhuk.
Prabhu, verse number 6, right?
Sorry.
Oh,
sorry,
no, I think.
I think 7.
Seven. Yeah, sorry. Yes. 7. Yeah, because I went back when she asked.
Yeah, okay. Nanu dvesti kalim samrat saranga iva sarabhuk kusalani asu siddhyanti netarani kirtani yat. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Parikshit was a realist. Like the bees who only accept the essence of a flower, he knew perfectly well that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately, whereas inauspicious acts must be actually performed to render effects. So he was never envious of the personality of Kali. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The age of Kali is called the fallen age. In this fallen age, because the living beings are in an awkward position, the Supreme Lord has given some special facilities to them. So by the will of the Lord, a living being does not become a victim of a sinful act until the act is actually performed. In other ages, simply by thinking of performing a sinful act, one used to become a victim of the act. On the contrary, a living being in this age is awarded the results of pious acts simply by thinking of them. Maharaj Parikshit, being the most learned and experienced king by the grace of the Lord, was not unnecessarily envious of the personality of Kali because he did not intend to give him any chance to perform any sinful act. He protected his subjects by falling prey to the sinful acts of the age of Kali, and at the same time, he gave full facility to the age of Kali by allotting him some particular places. At the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that even though all nefarious activities of the personality of Kali are present, there is a great advantage in the age of Kali. One can attain salvation simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Thus, Maharaj Parikshit made an organized effort to propagate the chanting of the Lord's holy name, and thus he saved the citizens from the clutches of Kali. It is for this advantage only that the great sages sometimes wish all good for the age of Kali. In the Vedas also it is said that by discourse on Krishna's activities, one can get rid of all disadvantages of the age of Kali. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also said that by the recitation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord becomes at once arrested within one's heart. These are some of the great advantages of the age of Kali. And Maharaj Parikshit took all advantages and did not think any ill of the age of Kali, true to his Vaishnavite cult. Haribol.
Haribol, you want to say something, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, this verse and Prabhupada's purport reminds me of that other verse, Kale Dosha Nije Rajan, this age of Kali is so much full of faults, but still, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can be delivered. So here, Maharaj Parikshit, he wasn't envious Kali. He gave Kali his facilities to stay, but he had to make the same time, he made sure that none of the citizens would fall prey to the activities of Kali, and they keep them engaged in chanting and performing Krishna's conscious activities. And another important point is, again, we heard this lecture last week. Last time Adi Gadar Prabhu told us that the one big benefit of age of Kali is anything you think pious, you get the benefit, and anything which is any thought which is not pious or is impious or sinful, you don't get any reaction until the act is performed.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. So, Parikshit Maharaj.
But Mataji, in many classes they say that even thought is sinful, that you get the karma even with the thoughts.
No, actually speaking, that it said that the thoughts become actions, right? Thinking.
They said if you keep on dwelling on the thoughts, then
then it will become action. So that is why they say that nip in the bud, right? In the beginning only, and 3rd chapter Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that the dwelling places of lust, and then he said that as soon as that thought comes, we should somehow stop that one. Otherwise it will come into action, and the moment it comes into action, then we will be bound by so many reactions. Yes.
So until we put in action, there is no karma.
There is no karma. Yeah, that is what. But the thing is, it is like very fine line between thinking and action, right? So we have to really be mindful of what our thoughts are. So, for example, if somebody does something wrong with us, right, somewhere, then if we are thinking of that person, and if we are thinking bad about that person, or if we are thinking about retaliating, then it will come out as action or words, right? The moment it comes out as words or action, there will be a reaction. But if we somehow understand that there is some lesson for me to learn from this incident. If this person is saying something which seems to be wrong, it may be that something I might have done, or it may be that Krishna wants to teach me some lesson, right? So if we take it, or like, for example, another way of thinking is that, let's say somebody does something which we get triggered by. So that is an opportunity for us to see that, actually speaking, what others are doing, I should not be triggered. So there is a lot of room for me to improve in my Krishna consciousness, that I don't get triggered. So this person is actually an instrument who is telling me that I have to still work on my purification, right? So just some example. Yeah.
Yeah, Mataji. But sometimes, people don't do actions, but they think, for example, if they don't like another person or something, they can, scold them in their mind, and then they just forget it. But they are performing the act, right, Mataji? No?
Yeah, if there is action, then there will be reaction.
There is no action, it's in the mind, right? It's in the thought.
So then also like it. Okay,
right.
If that thought is in our mind, then it affects our chanting. Yes. Yeah. If we are thinking things like that, then it is going to affect our.
So that is karma, right, Mataji? That's what.
Yes. So meaning what it is saying, that actually in Kali, if we think of, so why not think of this other part of the verse here? So the auspicious things produce good effects immediately, whereas inauspicious, so meaning if we are thinking of an auspicious thing, so when instead of thinking negative about someone or something which might become a reaction if we just act or speak, why not focus on the other part? Like, okay, my capacity is not to do so much service right now, but in my mind, I am thinking, oh, if I can cook for that person, if I can clean up, if I can help that person, my capacity is not so much. But, or if I can pray for somebody, then that will give me a better effect. Why not focus on the positive instead of focusing so much on the negative?
Right, Mataji, I understand.
There is a risk.
But what I feel is the thought also is karma.
It will become, if we don't pay attention to, if we don't do anything about getting rid
cleansing
of
it.
Yeah. It will become. I mean, okay, let's say we have some negative feeling about somebody, right? For example, and those persons are around us, it will come out. It will come out. There is no way that we can hide it. Even on the face, like, it will come out. Right? So it's better that we make our thought process in a positive way instead of thinking negative or a dirty way. It's better that we think, at least just by hearing this verse, that if we think auspiciously, and then it is going to help us actually. Even just by thinking, we will get the good result. Right?
Yeah.
Can I just say something, Mataji?
Prabhu?
Can I just add something, Mataji?
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Please.
I heard once a lecture, it's just along these lines. In the lecture, it was said that some people are so stingy that they can't they can't even donate 5 cents. They're so conjuice. But that at least in Kali Yuga, the benefit is in the mind. So at least in the mind, donate millions of dollars. At least get a benefit for that.
I think that is what was some of the discussion Adigadadar Prabhu's class was there in that day, on that day.
Yes,
I cannot see the live.
Yes.
We missed it, Mataji. We could not see the.
Yeah. Even Adigadadar Prabhu gave the example of Ajamil. Yes, when he was thinking about that prostitute, and then when he brings the prostitute at home, and his behavior was totally changed because he was thinking only what that scene, So that way, Kali Yuga is very, very pious. That if whatever we think good in mind, we will get the benefit. But if we think anything bad in our mind, Still, we don't have to think anything bad for anybody else. But that Prabhu was saying.
Along the same lines, Lord Nityananda, he told Lord Chaitanya, when he wanted to kill Madai, he said, if you kill him, then you have to kill everybody in Kali Yuga, because everybody is a demon,
Yeah.
Kali Yuga, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kills the demoniac mentality and not the physical body. That's why. Because otherwise everybody will be killed.
Yeah, so it's a great verse here actually. So generally, in Kali Yuga, like somewhere or the other, we kind of blame the circumstance, right? And Maharaj Parikshit is saying that so Sutta Goswami is saying he was never envious of personality of Kali. And because we can think that in Kali Yuga, the benefit is even if we just think of, doing some good activity, good act in only thinking, not doing it, still it will give us that fruit, right? So we should not be envious of personality of Kali. And in Kali, the easiest process of chanting Kali Doshni De Rajan, Asti hi eko mahan gunan, Kirtanadi eva Krishnasya. What is that last verse, last line, Prabhu?
Mukta Sangha Param Vijay.
Mukta Sangha Param Vijay. So that, yesterday's verse, I remembered that Narayana Parayana. So it is 6th canto, chapter 17, verse number 28. Yeah, Narayan para sarve na kutaschan bibhyati swarga apavarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshanam. So swarga, apavarga, nark, anything, api tulyartha darshanam. So for them, this is all same. Devotees solely engaged in devotional service of Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets' liberation and the hellish planets are all the same. For such, devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So that was yesterday. I was forgetting this verse, right? Okay.
What is the verse number, Mataji?
Yeah, 6th canto, chapter 17, verse number 28. This is Chitraketu when he was cursed by Mother Parvati, that Lord Shiva glorifies the devotee of Lord Narayan. So here, this in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also said, it is also said that by the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord becomes at once arrested within one's heart. So what is that verse? What is that? Dharma projita ketutra parmo nirvatsaranam satam vedyam vastvam atra vastu Vedyam Vastvam Atra Vastu. What did I do? Oh no, it is 112. Yeah. Dharma Purojita Ketutra Parmo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastvam Atra Vastu Shivatam Tapatarayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Prayer Ishvara Sadhya Hridi Avudyate Atra Kritbhi Shushrubis Tatshanat. So immediately that Krishna becomes captured in one's heart. Here, if as soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam by the culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. And then there is another one, 284. Yeah, this one. Yeah, Sharnata Shardaya Nityam Granantascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dirgena Bhagavan Vishite Hradi. So persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, manifested in their hearts within a short time. So this is the glory of our Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, should we read one more verse, 820? So yeah, we can read one more.
I can do Mataji.
Yeah, sure.
Kinnu Paleshu Surena Kalina Dira Viruna Apramataha Pramathesu Yogrito Vishuvartate. 1 minute, Mataji. Translation and support by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Parashit considered that less intelligent men might find the personality of Kali to be very powerful, but that those who are self-controlled would have nothing to fear. The king was powerful like a tiger and took care for the foolish, careless persons. Report, those who are not devotees of the Lord are careless and unintelligent. Unless one is thoroughly intelligent, one cannot be a devotee of the Lord. Those who are not devotee of the Lord fall prey to the actions of Kali. It will not be possible to bring about a saner condition in the society unless we are prepared to accept the modes of action adopted by Maharaj Parashit, with that propagation of devotional service of the Lord to the common man.
Okay.
Mataji, so there is no way that we can conquer Kali without propagating the devotional service. So Maharaj Parashit was very intelligent. He was able to manage the Kali basically by doing propagation of the devotional service. So it's not the process for unintelligent people. This is completely whoever is intelligent will only be able to pick up this process, and and also the age of Kali will not affect, doesn't have any impact on the people who are on Krishna consciousness or on the devotional service, because it can hardly have any effect on them because they are self-controlled.
Yeah, so this
for
is the
people who are
important
unintelligent
part.
and yeah, self-control.
Yeah, so, and we know that from Nectar of Instruction, the first verse and in the preface, Srila Prabhupada writes that if we want to for self-realization, one has to have that self-control, right? What is that? Vacho vegam manasakrodha vegam jiva vegam udarupastha vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhira. So what is that? Last line.
Sarvamapi mam prithvim
Sarvamapi
api mam
Mam prithvim cha sishat. Yeah. Sarvamapi mam prithvi cha sishat. Yeah. So vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udar upastha vegam. Those 6 urges one has to control. Without that, we cannot actually progress in our spiritual life. That is the must thing, right? So that without that self-control, we will be, because we will fall prey to sense gratification. And what is that sense gratification? Then what will happen? We will break all 4 regulative principles, right? And which is going to bind us. So best course is, and sense control, like in 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vishya vinivartante niraharsha dehinam rasopi varjam, what is that? Raso varjam api, what is that verse? Why is not, I don't know what is happening. All the verses I am forgetting. I need to remember, I need to revise. Vishya vinivartante niraharsha dehina rasa varjam rasopyasaya. I was forgetting this. Param drishtva nivartate, the higher taste. So we cannot just control our senses, just like, okay, I don't want to eat. No, but we have to develop a higher taste in something which is related to Krishna. Then only we can lose the taste for lower things, right? We have to develop that higher taste. Without higher taste, we cannot sustain. So just like prasadam, if we develop a taste for prasadam, then we'll stop eating junk food outside. Yeah, so that is important. So self-control is very important. Otherwise, we will become prey to Kali. and that is the process is given to us, the positive process of nine processes of devotional services plus the prohibitions, which is for regulative principles. Again, our whole circle is coming back to following four regulative principles and engaging in devotional service of the world. Okay, so I think we will end here. Anybody wants to say anything?
Mataji, I had a question. So I understand that yes, in the Kali age of Kali, chanting of the holy name is just as the easiest path that other age is going to do so much austerity and other things. But in the age of Kali, again, it's because I'm at a very low stage, but I feel it's very difficult to give this Krishna consciousness, give this holy name to others.
Yeah, it's not that on my power I can give the holy name to others, right? It's all Krishna. If we become humble and dependent on Krishna, he will empower us, right? Krishna Shakti Bina Nai Tara Parvartanat. If we think that I can do it, it is not going to happen. But if we depend on Krishna, then it can happen.
And so we
That is what Krishna empowers. Only when we are humble. Only when we first focus on our sadhana, then only we can give. If we go out for book distribution or anything, our sadhana has to be strong first. Then only, and we beg Krishna that if you so desire, Krishna, please make me an instrument in your hands.
yeah, that's the thing I have to. In the sadhana has to be and dependent on guru and.
But what happens is we become the doers. We think that whatever is happening is by our doing something is happening.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, we should remember this. Krishna Shakti Bina Nai Tara Parvartanat.
Thank you.
And we have this experience, right? Sometimes like we try to say something, but the words don't come out. Yeah. Krishna has a very unique and mysterious way of teaching things. Anything quickly? Anybody? Just one more minute. Okay, devotees. So we'll continue on Monday. Hopefully, we'll do Bhagavad Gita, and I need to post that message also. 3rd chapter up to verse number 21. All right. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind ki Jai, Vancha Kalparubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Devacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavyo, Namo Namah, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.